the Pod Network Entertainment.
Who's ready for story time?
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Let me talk to him.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Run!
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles.
Hey, this is the Cosmic Cactus, Paul London.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the Czar, the NXT champion, and you're listening to...
And you're listening to...
And you're listening...
And you are listening...
And you're listening
to the Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
The Wrestling Podcast.
To the Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
Happy long weekend mga kapodcast. It's Stan, Ro, and Chino for the bonus episode of the Wrestling Podcast with some topics that we just didn't have time for on the live stream. Let's start with NXT and our impressions of Lexis King. So this is the ring name of Brian Pillman Jr. Apparently, these are references to his own family. Yung Lexis comes from his sister, Alexis, who had passed away in a car accident in 2009. And King is the last name of Brian Pillman Jr.'s stepfather. Yung naging asawa ng mom niya. So his mother, Melanie, actually used the last name Pillman King. So kaya Lexis King yung ginagamit niyang pangalan. So when he made his entrance, he came out on a throne, which was being pushed to the side. He did his thing, wrestled Dante Chen, then defeated him with that draping, swinging DDT finisher. What are your impressions coming out of that initial performance of Lexis King?
It was all right. It's one of those things that you introduce, a new character. For those who didn't catch Brian Pillman in AEW, especially in the dark shows, it's okay. He was capable in it with nothing mind-blowing. Talagang ano, pero I don't know how much of his father was really in that character. I feel like he's also kind of not all the way into the whole dissing his dad thing. Because if he was, he'd try his hardest to not really look like his dad. Parang, why still be stuck with the long hair and things, diba? So, it's just there. I want to like Brian Pillman, but this isn't really him setting the world on fire.
I think this is them creative and Brian Pillman Jr. trying to show the world that he, Lexis King, is a more improved version of Brian Pillman. It's interesting if they can pull it off kasi number one, Brian Pillman really isn't that big a name in the world of professional wrestling. Siguro even the smarkiest of fans might not really remember who Brian Pillman was. Diba? And even if they do, medyo sketchy din yung later years niya sa WWE. So I don't know if that's a good move on their part to like build. I mean, gets ko naman na family niya yun, and that's where he comes from, right? But I don't know if that's really the move to go with here. Just because he was known as Brian Pillman Jr., outside the WWE, I don't think that needs to be his character in the WWE.
Well, yeah, kaya nga he wanted to distance himself from it. But for now, the character is really just, I'm not Brian Pillman. So that's not really a character, but it is okay for those who are only just getting to know him.
Yeah, they've been referencing it a lot in the sense that it's part of like yung catchphrases now or something that the commentators keep saying that it's not the continuation of someone else's legacy or career. It's the start of my own. It's like a new journey and everything. But then something that you said, Ro, just stuck to me, which was that, oh nga naman, if you're trying so hard to be a different guy, why you still look like Brian Pillman Sr. So, ngayon ko lang siya naisip actually na, oo nga, no? When you see him, lalo na pag sinide by side nila, di ba, sa NXT, yung footage of Brian Pillman active and then the way that Lexis King looks now, it's so eerily similar.
I think
Even
kasi sorry, go ahead, Gina.
even the way they shaped his beard is exactly like Brian Pillman. So feeling ko pwede din gamitin against him yan eh, if whoever he ends up facing is creative enough.
I think that the guy himself actually just wants to be Brian Pillman Jr. Kasi that was the character he was doing when he started in the business, diba? It's just that I think WWE creative wants him to not be Brian Pillman Jr. kasi that was him in AEW. So, which is fair, I guess. Like it's how like Ava isn't really being patterned after The Rock, right? Which is you can't be your dad as well. Pero uh in this case, I feel strongly that there's something deep down within the guy that just wants to be his dad.
Tsaka interesting din na bring up mo yun, Ro. Because then it goes back to our earlier conversations of second generation talent and who the WWE chooses to bestow the last name to or the heritage persona to, di ba? Kasi
Yeah.
while Braun Breaker it doesn't have the last name Steiner, alam ng buong mundo sino yung tatay niya, di ba? So again, it brings it back to the conversation na who is worthy of really carrying that last name and that heritage persona that people want to see. Diba? How do they make these decisions creatively?
The first thing being na they are overtly expressing na anak ito ni Brian Pillman. It's just that the character wants to stray away from that lineage. The second thing is that this is a guy who came from AEW, jumped to WWE, much like Cody and Jade Cargill. Granted, they're not on the same level in terms of star power, but one could argue na maybe he wants to remain being Brian Pillman Jr. It's just that WWE didn't want to use the package that they bought as is. Gets ba? Kasi parang the
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
They took in Cody, they got the Cody that was in AEW. When they got Jade, they got the Jade Cargill that was in AEW. Whereas they got this guy, Brian Pillman Jr., and yet hindi ito ang inilabas nila sa TV. Ang inilabas nilang produkto is this new product, Lexus King.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. But Chino bringing up like Braun Breaker reminds me na I think I understand the psychology of WWE when they try to do this stuff. It's more of they don't want to saddle this person with the expectations and the pressure of being their father's son, diba? It makes sense, naman. Like you do want to paint someone as someone different. Like he's not Brian Pillman Jr.'s son. He's not Rick Steiner's son, diba? Just totally fine, I guess. That makes sense.
He was Mike Rotunda's kid or IRS's kid.
Yeah. No. So if that's the if that's the psychology, if that's the thinking behind it, that cool, okay. It's just that I can tell again that he still just wants to be Brian Pillman Jr.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's get to our predictions for Crown Jewel. So, like we said on the live stream, we have 5 announced matches. We're recording this Thursday night. So, anything can happen between now and the actual date of Crown Jewel, which is happening November 5 in the US. That is, November 4 in the US. That's November 5 dito sa atin. If you want to watch it live, syempre nasa Disney Plus. Madaling araw, obviously, 1 a.m. So, kung gusto nyo manood ng live, go right ahead. If you want to wait for the on-demand version, it should be up on your feeds probably Sunday morning, November 5, or maybe in the afternoon. All right, let's go through the matches and go through the stories as well. We'll start with Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest in what New Japan would call a special singles match.
Interesting. Pero you can tell that this was done to elevate yung stock ni Damian Priest because he is still senior Money in the Bank and you still have to feature Cody. Cody is a big name, the big draw. And interesting. I don't know who to pick here. I would just go with Cody because it's still his story to finish.
I don't know if I want to see Cody run through the Judgment Day just yet. Kasi I'm just thinking out loud here. If he does that, then I don't know if there's enough stakes for a Survivor Series match moving forward. Diba? But then again, I also don't see Damian Priest beating Cody clean. So maybe I say Damian Priest wins with shenanigans.
Pwede, yeah.
Dirty Dom could get involved, diba?
Yeah.
True.
Or JD, or Rhea.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rhea, she's got a 5-way match for the Women's World Championship. It's Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler versus Zoe Stark versus Raquel Rodriguez.
I love this. It's about time that they elevated as many of the Raw women as possible. I said in my Raw review that it's time for Rhea to let go. She's not serving the championship. The championship is not serving her at this point.
What do you mean by that?
She's way more involved kasi sa mga affairs ng mga lalaki.
Yeah.
So she's more known for that than being a champion of the women's division. So kung ganun din lang, let's elevate someone else, right? Let's go back to having a steady championship, a steady storyline for the women's championship and the women. Kasi right now she's splitting time between being a champion and being mommy ng buong Judgment Day, as I think Cody said, yeah. So I want to give it to someone else. I want to piss everyone off and say Nia Jax wins.
Pwede, actually. I was gonna say Raquel. 'Cause she's on fire right now. The power bomb using Nia Jax. But Nia also, like, Nia seems to be the more obvious pick here kasi they brought her back for a reason, I think. And they're building her to be this monster heel. And what makes you a better monster heel than being a monster heel that's a champion? So
Yep.
if I don't think she pins Rhea Ripley, I think she pins somebody else. Dahil nga 5 ways allow for that commotion to happen. But Nia Jax is also like a pretty obvious choice.
Yeah. Did you know that Nia Jax has never been women's champion as a heel? I just saw this now, and her one women's championship run was when she was a babyface and she defeated Alexa Bliss, diba? Nung
minubuli siya.
Nung minubuli siya.
Fina-fat shame siya. Okay. I think deserve naman niya. I mean, people will hate it because they think Nia Jax is super unsafe, but I mean, if the company trusts her, then that's the sign of that's a sign of that's a stamp of approval, if you will.
Sabi nga natin, di ba, mas trust natin yung endorsement ni Asuka kaysa kay user on Twitter.
Exactly.
Na egg ang pangalan at profile picture. All right, let's talk about the United States Championship match. Ito, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. Does Logan Paul actually end up walking out U.S. champion at the end of Crown Jewel?
I would do it. People will hate it, but I would do it because at this point, if Logan Paul is just here for part-time matches, you're gonna see him as someone who always loses, except for when it's not a big star like Ricochet, diba? So, let's do it. Let's have a quick Logan Paul championship run. It's not gonna be that bad.
I mean, how committed is Logan Paul to a full-time run, though, is another question. Kasi kung committed siya to a more regular schedule, then I can see him walking away with the title. But his last match before this was the last PLE pa, diba? So I don't know, man. I think Logan Paul knows his value to the WWE in the sense that I don't think he wants to be champion because that would mean he'd have to stay on more days. So I say Rey retains.
Here's a question for you both. Let's say Nia Jax wins. Galit na yung mga tao. Let's say Reigns beats LA Knight. Galit na naman yung mga tao. Then you have Logan Paul defeating Rey. Lalo magagalit yung mga tao for like 3 out of the 5 matches on your card. You really want that?
I don't know. I would do it. But yeah, gets ka naman. It could go. It's one of those things that could go either way. I'm not fully into it. I'm just thinking about kasi the logistics of Logan Paul. Kasi if he just comes in to lose to these big names, diba? Like, why would I want to see him anymore? I know he's gonna lose because he's not full time and he's just here to have a good match, diba? That's the thinking I have. But I only suggested that they do it, but it could go either way.
I mean, natalo naman yung si Ricochet.
Yeah, Miz, that's Ricochet.
So, the Miz, oh yeah.
Yeah, the Miz. Okay.
Also, they did beat the Mysterios nung WrestleMania.
Right.
Oo nga pala.
Before LA Knight had a job.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Ano ba? Does Seth lose the title here to Drew?
I want to. Like, it's again, like we said last week, mas sympathetic character si Drew McIntyre at this point. I'm way more compelled by him, even though obviously makings of a villain. I want to say it, but they have been proving us wrong at every turn. So I don't know. Seth retains, and I want to be surprised by that.
They were teasing something with Seth and Rhea nung Raw.
But
I don't know
Drew
where,
naman eh. Yeah.
but it was Drew. But I don't know where that actually goes. But with that in play right now, I think Seth still retains. I don't know. Kasi, oh no, sorry. Let me change my answer. I think Seth loses to Drew. Kasi it might tempt him to the dark side. It will open an opportunity for that. So I'll probably go with Drew McIntyre here. Although I will say that I would much rather prefer Drew go full heel at this point.
Yeah, agree.
And then get the title. Diba? But that makes more sense. It's more captivating for me as an audience member.
Damn, so if you turn heel fully, now you have 4 matches where people are pissed off with the ending.
No, but I mean, if Seth retains, I think that's a more annoying result. I think people are kind of tired of that as well. Even though you could sing Seth's song, but that's the only thing redeemable about him right now. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Then again, we could also be in the minority kasi baka mamaya yung mga opinion
yun nga eh.
please us or displease us as fans. Hindi naman ng masa, di ba?
Yeah.
So, eto, Roman Reigns versus WWE Universal Championship. I'm not laughing kasi dinidisrespeto ko si LA Knight, but we know how these things work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this is what you guys wanted them. I mean, you guys being LA Knight bandwagoners, if you will. You wanted him to be pushed to the moon. At first, you didn't think it was happening because he was still stuck in these nothing burger feuds. And then he had The Miz, and he won the Slim Jim Battle Royal. Now he has a world championship shot. But I think that's the whole idea, to get him to the world championship level. It's you get there, you lose first, and then you go back to your story, like Cody. So the question now is, kaninong story ang unahin mo ngayon? Nasa pawan na si Cody ni LA Knight. But yeah, hey, it would be nice to have something different for a change. But we, as you said, we do know how these things go.
I mean, on one hand, yes, I am in the majority here that thinks that LA Knight is not gonna walk away the champion. But at the same time, where does he go after he loses his third? What is his third title shot at this point? So parang, it's the same problem they have with Logan Paul. Diba? When are they gonna pay LA Knight off here? When is that gonna happen for LA Knight fans? Diba? They can only go so long with the yeah chats and the whatever they shout when he asks them questions. Diba? So parang ano makikita ko din dyan is this experiment they have with LA Knight has to pay off. Whether it pays off in Crown Jewel is another thing entirely.
I think it's a more interesting yet annoying result if LA Knight suddenly won. But I'll save that for if it ever happens.
I would dare say na maybe this has been the payoff to get him to the main event championship level. Na yun. Just because yung pag-defeat kay Roman Reigns, naka-earmark pa rin for Cody. And then LA Knight isn't on Raw. So it's a bit of a stretch to put him in the World Heavyweight Championship picture. But that's just me. Again, someone na wala ring alam from the outside. So
I don't know. It's interesting. I just find it interesting, but I don't think it's going to be anything more than a routine Roman Reigns defense.
Yeah, that will still be a good match in the process. I would like to know if people would be so outraged na mag-riot sila the way that they used to for Daniel Bryan back in the day if LA Knight were...
Parang no, because when Brian was a thing, he really earned his way to being a main eventer. And that also came after months of denial. Like, they would give him something and then they would take it away from him. Ito kay LA Knight, wala pang binibigay sa kanya other than shots, right? They haven't pulled away a championship reign from him, right? So I don't think the fever pitch is there just yet.
I want, kasi I want, like, if you're, I'm putting myself in an LA Knight fan's shoes here. As a fan, as a supporter, diba, you can only go so long with the call and response before you start thinking to yourself, teka, bakit ko nga ba kinakampihan to? Hindi siya nananalo. like it has to pay off. And if this is the payoff, then I don't know if that's enough of a payoff as a fan. Diba, syempre, you want your guy to win the big one. Diba, if this is his big one, then I don't know.
Lots of stuff to think about and talk about heading into Crown Jewel, which again is taking place on November 5. That's a Sunday. Para sa ating mga Pinoy, 1 a.m. or 12 midnight. Depending.
Yeah.
May daylight savings time pa right as Crown Jewel hits. I don't make the rules here. But if you want to catch it at a not so insane hour, then just wait for the on-demand version to drop on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Still doesn't have Tagalog audio, but that's not it. If you want to let us know your reactions and your comments sa ating mga Crown Jewel predictions and our impressions of Lexis King, you know where to find us. It is at Wrestling2XPod on Twitter and on TikTok. Individually, it is at Chino Supersized, at EML_Meister, at Monday Night Rowan, at Roeswar, and at _Stancy. That's it for the bonus episode of the Wrestling Podcast. For Romoran and Chino Liao, my name is Stan C, saying stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast, out. Bye-bye.
Peace.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.